Alright guys, so it turns out this video is going to be a lot more difficult to make than I originally thought. This is my second time trying to record this video. It's really difficult to make. Basically, I didn't know what video to make today. It's my day off of work. I was at the gym and was like, I really need to make some content. And then when I was in the shower, I figured, there is a book that I can review. It's a book that nobody else knows about, and I know more about this book than anyone else on the planet, and that is the book that I am writing and have been writing for nearly a decade. Yes, you heard me right. There is a book that I have been writing in some shape or form since I was in the 3rd or 4th grade. I can't remember which. I think it was the latter half of 3rd grade into 4th grade, all the way through like middle school. I've been working with these 3 main characters. The stories are very different, like I said, in some shape or form. But these 3 main characters have been there since the beginning, and they are my main characters now. And what really pushed me to make this video is, since my time on BookTube, I've just seen how much support self-pub authors and up-and-coming authors get, and it's really surprising to me, or at least it was. I never really expected that. And so where I once saw my own work as very amateur and probably something I shouldn't talk about because I might get made fun of or whatever, after seeing how much support they get, I figured why not talk about my own work for once. I know there's plenty of booktubers out there who have written their own books and they're critically acclaimed. Well, not critically acclaimed, but on BookTube, people seem to love them, especially like the 5 Warrior Angels, was it? And I forget the other one that I'm thinking of on the top of my head. Can't remember, but 5 Warrior Angels is one that I've heard thrown around a lot. People love that series by Brian Lee Durfee. So, you know what? I'm just going to talk about my own stuff today. I'm going to start by giving you guys a little bit of context and history about my writing. And like I said, it's been nearly a decade. When I was in the 3rd or 4th grade, I started writing a chapter book, as they called it when you're in elementary school, right? I had always started like writing comics and stuff when I was even younger than that. I was always a fan of storytelling, and it was around that time when I started getting into like bigger chapter books. I had also gotten into anime pretty heavily at the time, and between me starting to read stuff like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter, on top of watching anime like Naruto and whatever else I was watching at the time, it really inspired me, and I was like, I'm really not gonna try to do comics anymore. I hated the way my drawing looked, and of course everything takes practice, of course, but I just lost faith in my own drawing abilities, and I was like, screw it. If I can't draw, I can at least try to tell a story that I want to write. And so that's when I started writing like books. So all throughout like the 3rd and 4th grade, I wrote a series. I forget what it was called exactly. It was like Battle of the Zones or something like that. I don't know. Where it followed our 3 main characters, Rose, Luke, and Finn. Those are my 3 main characters now. I've kept them all this time. Basically, they would just go through these different portals to different dimensions where each dimension was like a different level, and they had like different elements associated with them. So there's like a fire dimension and a water dimension, and it was called Zones because it was based on Digimon Fusion, where they had like these different elemental worlds and stuff. So it was based on that in like the dimensions part. It was very much a mix match. I don't know, whatever. Just a melting pot of everything I was inspired by. So whether that be Naruto and Attack on Titan and, Harry Potter and all Star Wars, whatever. It was very on the nose and even was referenced by name in the series itself. Like characters would be like, oh yeah, this thing we're doing right now, it's kind of like Attack on Titan or something, right? It was very on the nose, like it was referenced by name, and that was kind of stupid, but I was also 10, so what do you want? Moving on into when I was like in the 5th grade, I was still writing this series, and these books, if you could even call them books, weren't really like full-length novels. Like, why would they be? Again, I was 10, and there was several books, and they were all written in like a notebook I had, or a few notebooks, and each book was probably like 5 pages long, and so the whole series as a whole could probably be a novella. I think it ended up being like 70 pages or 100 pages for the whole series. So yeah, I still called them separate books, but they weren't really. But by the 5th grade, I was still writing this story, and I just did not know where to go with it, and I kind of gave up. And then later, when I was in the 5th grade, I decided to revisit my story, but this time rewrite it. And so I rewrote it from the beginning. It was definitely a step up from where it was before. Like, originally, I didn't know how to write, and so there wasn't like defined paragraphs. It was all like run on, pretty much. Like, there was quotations for when people were talking, but the sentences would just run into each other. Like, it wasn't divided how it should be. And so when I learned about that in the 5th grade, I was like, dang, my writing is terrible. And so I rewrote it. And this was the first time I ever made a complete story. It was in a new notebook, and like I said, it was definitely a step up from the first edition of it. Now, to this day, I do not know where my original writing went. It was in a specific notebook I had, and maybe I threw it away. I don't know. I wish I still had it, but I don't. I could not tell you where it's at. I've searched and searched. It is lost to the wind. However, I still have a copy. Well, I say the only copy, my original notebook for my rewrite. In fact, my girlfriend is actually in possession of it at the moment, because I let her have it to read it and look at my old stuff. So she actually has it right now, but it is my rewrite I did. And I wanted to continue that story. It failed. Long story short, I ended up not working on that story for quite a while, and so I did not pick up writing again until, I want to say, I was probably in the 7th grade. For a couple years, I did not write. And when I started rewriting, again, writing a new story, it was definitely more of an undertaking. Like, it was definitely more advanced than it was before. I mean, I grew older, I gained more knowledge, and the stuff I was reading at the time was definitely more mature. I would say it was pretty edgy, as it would be from a middle schooler. I had started reading Saxon Tales, which is a series that I've talked about a few times, my favorite book series. And reading Saxon Tales, that is still one of my biggest influences, because at the time, it really changed what a story was for me and what books could do. And seeing that, my new story was very heavily inspired by that. And this began an era that I would just call the infinite rewrites. And it was terrible. Almost zero progress was made, and still I'm in the early stages of writing because of this and this nature that I adopted, where I would write a few chapters in and then reread it and be like, oh, this is terrible. Scrap it, and then rewrite it a little bit further, read it and be like, oh, this is still bad. Scrap it. And just this infinite cycle of just rewriting. And that's probably bound to happen, being so young and being so inexperienced, that when you start to just absorb all of these other inspirations, you want to write something new, including, oh yeah, this person did this better, I'm gonna write that, and like, you know what I mean. It's just all a mishmash, I don't know, of all these other things. And that really hindered my progress because I just kept wanting to rewrite everything. And to some extent I still do, but I'm finally starting to realize that I have something that I'm relatively happy with, and I'm just gonna roll with it. And looking back at it, there are some instances in my middle school years writing where I do think that all of this rewriting and stuff did help me. This was about the time when I zeroed in on what I wanted to do with this story, when I created characters that I've actually stuck with, where I've created storylines that I've actually stuck with, and focused on more world building, and made it more professional, I guess. Just focusing more on aspects that I was gonna, I don't know how to explain it, just work on. I lowered the scale of it because before it was like traveling to all these different dimensions, and that wasn't gonna work. I wanted to focus on this one world and the conflict within this one world. Anyways, all throughout middle school, that's what it was, just rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. Same with the beginning of my story, even when I was in high school. That was around the time when I first started reading A Song of Ice and Fire, which also heavily inspired me. Martin is one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to my own writing. Him and Bernard Cornwell are just phenomenal writers, and their stories and the way that their scenes are described, their characters, everything, their world building, all of that stuff is just probably the two biggest inspirations on me. So where I'm at now, fast forward, I'm finally, like I said before, running with something that I think could work. Now, without giving too much away, I'm not gonna drop the title of this book here or anything like that, or the series. If you go searching, I'm sure you could probably find it. Maybe I've talked about it somewhere before. I don't know. Maybe some people are aware. But I don't really want to talk about much of the specific details. I already told you guys my three main characters. That's just kind of what I'm going to stick with right now. This is a high fantasy, epic fantasy, pretty large scale, smaller scale than what I was working with when I was younger, where it was just stupid. But now it's a larger scale, but smaller than it was before. Anyways, the reason why I kind of also wanted to talk about it here on the channel is to hold myself accountable. If you guys know what I'm working on, then it's not just something that I have a hobby for and work on like once a month or a couple times a month, right? It's something that I'm actually pushing to continue and actually write. I'm hoping that I can put something out or have something in a year or two that I'm actually happy with. Maybe even ready for like an editor, anything like that. I do planish to publish my stuff, my works, whether that's traditionally published or self-published. I'm not sure yet. I would like to do probably self-published because I have more control over my own works, but I have to cross that bridge when I get there. At the moment, I have to write the actual story, which is my biggest struggle so far. In fact, after this video, I'm probably going to go work on some writing and finish up the first act of my series, or not series, but of my first book. I think I put it through like a word counter the other day, and I'm about 9,000 words in, which is not a lot at all. But that's just where I'm at. So to give you guys an idea, I'm in the beginning stages still. Yeah, I hope by putting my work out there, talking about it, I'm keeping myself accountable and wanting to put something out and actually work on it more. I think this is really going to be the year for me to work on this. I say this every year, but I've never been able to keep myself accountable for that. And I'm hoping this time I will. It's kind of one of those things where I want to put something out I don't really care if anybody ever reads my stuff, if it ever becomes super popular. Obviously, I want people to read it, but like, this is more for me, you know? I just want to tell this story and put it out there. I want to be able to hold a physical book in my hand of something I wrote, of my story. If it never reaches any charts, if it never makes me a household name or anything, that's not my goal. I just want to put something out there and make a conclusive story. And share my progress and my process with all of you. And so if this is something you guys want to know more about, or follow me on my writing journey, let me know. I maybe will do monthly updates or something about my writing specifically, or do monthly update videos regardless, and just throw my writing as like a segment in those videos. If you guys want that, or want to know more, be sure to let me know. That's going to be about it. I just wanted to talk to you guys about my writing history, I guess, and let you guys know that this is something that I'm actively working on, and there is a goal in sight, I guess. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I know this is more of like a rambling video, probably not a great video to be honest, but it's just something I wanted to talk about. So thank you all for watching. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And yeah, without further ado, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.